لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. We bear witness that there is no deity but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Muhammad is his servant and messenger. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم لك الحمد في الدنيا والآخرة. Allah, praise to you in this life and in the next. اللهم لك الحمد ملء السماوات والأرض. Praise to Allah, the creator of heavens and the creator of the earth. نحمد الله سبحانه وتعالى على نعمة الإسلام. We praise Allah for the blessing of Islam. ونحمد الله سبحانه وتعالى على نعمة الإيمان. And we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the blessing of Iman. نحمد الله سبحانه وتعالى على ما أكرمنا فيه من مسجدنا هذا. We praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the blessings that He has given us in this masjid, in this new masjid that we have. And as this masjid is being created and finished and finalized, there is one more element that is needed to fulfill the role of this masjid, and that is us, that is human beings, that is the Muslims. That is the community and the people who will attend this masjid. And let me briefly in this khutbah go back with you to the time of the Prophet ﷺ and the time of the first masjid, and go over the story of the first masjid and what was the role of that masjid in people's lives and how did they build it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّمَا يَعْمُرُ مَسَاجِدَ اللَّهِ مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. Those who build the masajid of Allah, and the meaning of the word build is physically and figuratively. Those who believe in the day after. It was 13 years of persecution. 13 long years of persecution by Quraysh, the tribe of the Prophet ﷺ. And the Muslims were being persecuted year after year. But the message of Islam was relentless and was progressing forward. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the Muslims were not able to fulfill their faith and fulfill their deen and manifest Islam in the proper way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed them and gave them permission to travel and to migrate to another city. And the Prophet ﷺ has seen in his dream a city with a lot of palm trees located between two mountains of black stone. And in his mind he was thinking perhaps Yathrib, the name of that city was at the time, could be one of those, but he was not sure. But sure enough, with the time of pilgrimage, he got introduced to the people of Al-Ansar. Those people of Al-Ansar, those tribes of Yathrib, Al-Aws wal-Khazraj, those people of Ansar, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in them, He says, وَالَّذِينَ تَبَوَّأُوا الدَّارَ وَالْإِيمَانَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ يُحِبُّونَ مَنْ هَاجَرَ إِلَيْهِمْ. Those who have lived in the dar, in the homes of the new home for Muslims, and accepted iman and accepted faith, they love those who come to them. يُحِبُّونَ مَنْ هَاجَرَ إِلَيْهِمْ وَلَا يَجِدُونَ فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَاجَةً مِمَّا أُوتُوا. And those resources that they have, they don't feel too attached to those resources. They are willing to share with the newcomers. They love the newcomers and they are willing to share with them what they have. وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَى أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. Even more than sharing, they are willing to put themselves second, and those who are in need and those who come to them first, even if they were poor. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a message that resonates across time for eternity. وَمَنْ يُوقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Those who are protected from their own greed, those are the victorious. Those are the successful. Those are the triumphant. So he got introduced to the Ansar. And the Ansar have been fighting among each other for 100 years. Jahiliyyah. This guy is from Al-Aws, that guy is from Al-Khazraj. This guy from this tribe, that guy from the other tribe. And they fight and fight and fight. And this Jahiliyyah can persist to this day. This guy is Arab, that guy is Hindu, that guy is Pakistani, and God knows what else we could use to divide. But Islam united them all. And they were lonesome and looking forward to the time of the Prophet that he comes to them. And al-Muhajirin, they started going one after the other ahead of the Prophet. And the Prophet was one of the last people that left Mecca and migrated to them. And on a very hot day, in the middle of the day, he goes to his best friend, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu. And he goes on that very hot day because all the people of Mecca during that time of the day, they would be hiding in their homes because the temperature was too hot. So he goes to him and he tells him, and nobody visits anyone at that time of the day, back in that culture. And he goes to him and he knocks on his door, and Abu Bakr as-Siddiq is happy because he came to him in this time. He knew something was up. He knew the time was up. And he tells him, As-suhbata ya Rasulullah. Companionship, O Prophet of Allah. And the Prophet responds to him and he says, As-suhbata ya Abu Bakr. And they decide when they will go, and they go that night. And on the road to Medina, as soon as that persecution is lifted, as soon as the hand of the Prophet is free to deliver the message, to do what he was sent to do, he works on the way and he meets people and he invites them to Islam. And the record says there's about 100 Muslims that adopted Islam just on that journey alone before he gets to his destination. And then he gets to a small village on the outskirts of Medina. That village is called Quba and is named after a well in that village. And he rests there for 3 or 4 days. But what does he do in those 3 or 4 days? Again, the persecution is lifted. He is fulfilling his role. He creates the first masjid, Masjid Quba. And he creates that masjid and he makes his qibla to the Masjid al-Aqsa. And he, even after he went to the Medina and created the Masjid al-Nabawi, or the main masjid, in the Masjid al-Nabawi, the Jum'ah prayer was being carried out. In Masjid Quba, Jum'ah prayer was not being carried out. So you might want to say it's more like a musalla in our common day terminology, at least at the time of the Prophet. And who is going to do a Jum'ah prayer during the lifetime of the Prophet? No one is qualified. So what does he do? He does not leave those people alone. He does not leave those people of Quba. He comes to them every Saturday or every Sunday and he catches up with them and he teaches them and he doesn't ignore them. So that's what the Prophet ﷺ does with Masjid Quba. And after he rests on those few days, he continues his journey to Medina, which is a very short distance away. And on the way, he reaches Medina on a Friday. But on the way, it was time for a Friday prayer. And he prays with whoever they are with him. And he does the prayer again. He doesn't wait until the circumstances are perfect. He conducts his purpose and the message as soon as that persecution is lifted. And he reaches Medina. And when he reaches Medina, he does 3 things. The first one was to al-mu'akha, to make brothers between al-Muhajirin and al-Ansar. Between those who have come, they have left everything behind. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لِلْفُقَرَاءِ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ الَّذِينَ أُخْرِجُوا مِنْ دِيَارِهِمْ وَأَمْوَالِهِمْ. For those who are poor and have immigrated and has left unwillingly, as in they were persecuted out. They were pushed out. أُخْرِجُوا مِنْ دِيَارِهِمْ وَأَمْوَالِهِمْ, from their wealth and from their homes. لِلْفُقَرَاءِ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ الَّذِينَ أُخْرِجُوا مِنْ دِيَارِهِمْ وَأَمْوَالِهِمْ يَبْتَغُونَ فَضْلًا مِنَ اللَّهِ وَرِضْوَانًا. Why did they leave? They left just for the purpose of reaching and winning the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His blessings. يَبْتَغُونَ فَضْلًا مِنَ اللَّهِ وَرِضْوَانًا وَيَنْصُرُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ, and to support Allah and His Messenger, to support this message and to give it strength. That's the only purpose why they left. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الصَّادِقُونَ. those are the true, those are the true to their word. Those are the righteous. Those people that left in need, left everything behind and left in need, Prophet ﷺ makes them brothers. Every muhajir is made a brother with one from the Ansar. And they share their resources with them, and they make their trip easier, and they make their new life, to establish their new life easier. So that's task number one. And task number two, he creates al-masjid. And when he creates al-masjid, Prophet ﷺ lets his naqa or camel go about to choose, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was going to choose the place for him. He did not want to choose personally because he did not want to offend anyone. So he led the naqa, and everybody would try to grab the camel, and he would tell them, leave it. It's ordered. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ordering her to go where it needs to go. And then the naqa chooses a place that is beloved to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Chooses a place in the neighborhood of Bani al-Najjar, which is the neighborhood of his mother, because she came from the Medina. And then when the naqa sits down, Prophet ﷺ says, this is the place, inshallah. And it was private property, and the person who owned it wanted to give it as a donation to the Prophet and to the Muslims and to the new cause. But he would not accept that. He would ask Muslims to come up with the money and pay for it. And Abu Bakr as-Siddiq again steps up to the plate and comes up with the money and pays for it. And the Prophet ﷺ delineates the perimeter for them, and he makes the qibla, again pointing to the direction of al-Masjid al-Aqsa. And they build it. And as they are building it, everybody is working, including the Prophet ﷺ, and everybody is contributing to this. Even though they try to make him sit down and relax, that he would not accept. He would physically contribute to the work. And when they were working, they would say poetry. Allahumma la aisha illa aisha al-akhirah. Allah, there is no true life except the life of the hereafter. Farham al-muhajirin, farham al-ansar wal-muhajira. So have mercy on the muhajirin and ansar. And the Prophet would participate with them as well. And then the masjid is built. And when the masjid is built, it becomes the core center of the life of the Medina. It is the place where prayer is done. It is the place where Muslims gather around the Prophet ﷺ, so they can learn their religion. And women would participate in them with that. And they would sit behind the men. And they would pray behind the men as well. They're all participating in this. And it's also the core center for the politics of the Medina, where all the political affairs are conducted, or the military affairs are conducted. All of that is done. And the Prophet ﷺ, he lives in two small houses or hujrat right next to that. And then the Prophet ﷺ does a third thing. And that third thing, he creates the constitution of the Medina, or Sahifat al-Medina, where he delineates the rights and responsibilities of all the inhabitants of Medina, Muslims and otherwise, including the Jews. And he keeps the peace that way. And then he goes on to manifest Islam and teaches the Muslims their religion in every occasion. And they would gather also for i'tikaf in the masjid. And they would gather for the prayer in Ramadan in the masjid. Everything happens in the masjid. All the creation of the new society happens in the masjid. Prophet ﷺ in the masjid, he was the messenger, and he was the leader, and he was the social reformer. He was everything in that masjid. But then something happens, and the Muslims are harassed by the Jews about the direction of the Qibla. And the Prophet ﷺ wishes another Qibla. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him in the Quran that قَدْ نَرَى تَقَلُّبَ وَجْهِكَ فِي السَّمَاءِ. We see that you're looking up to the sky. قَدْ نَرَى تَقَلُّبَ وَجْهِكَ فِي السَّمَاءِ فَلَنُوَلِّيَنَّكَ قِبْلَةً تَرْضَاهَا. So we will give you a qibla that you prefer and that you like and that you will accept. فَوَلِّ وَجْهَكَ شَطْرَ الْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ. So pray in the direction of the Masjid al-Haram. وَحَيْثُمَا كُنْتُمْ فَوَلُّوا وُجُوهَكُمْ شَطْرًا. And wherever you are, pray in that direction. And the Muslims simply, they just reverse. Instead of the north heading wall, they realign the masjid to the south heading wall. But they leave that covered area in the north. They leave that covered, even though it's at the back of the masjid. They leave that covered area in the north for those who are poor, and for those who are homeless, and for those who have no way to go. And that called a sufa. That place is called a sufa. And the Prophet ﷺ used to go, and the people that aggregate in that place because they have nowhere to go, they were called Ahl al-Sufa. And the Prophet ﷺ would not leave them alone. He would sit down with Ahl al-Sufa all the time and teaches them and checks on their affairs. So that's the Prophet ﷺ, and that's the story of the first masjid. And the masjid is a masjid because of the people that are living inside of it, and the people that are contributing to it, and the people that are attending it. So, alhamdulillah, now we have a new masjid that we've been waiting for a very long time. So it's up to us to build it in human activity, and it's up to us to build it in attendance and in worship, and more importantly, in the sense of one community, like the Prophet ﷺ has brought one community to the Muslims of Medina. قولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله العظيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. We praise Allah, Lord of the worlds, and we thank Him for all the blessings that He has given us. I will briefly share with you the story of this masjid, so we can all be up to date on this. Your brothers who are working in the board have been working on a common place for a very long time. And alhamdulillah, with the help of our brother Altaf, this masjid was brought and bought and fully paid. And then all the community has to do is contribute in the running aspect of this community. So we all have to contribute, and we all have to chip in. We have to chip in money, and we have to chip in activity, and in resource, and in putting time. We are planning many activities for this masjid, inshallah, but this cannot be done by one person, or even the one board for that matter. If you attend one of the meetings of the board, you know that they are overwhelmed with responsibilities, and they are overwhelmed with catching up on all the different loose ends. So please come forward, step up, contribute, offer your help, and offer assistance, and don't be just passive. Please be active, because every one of us has a role to play, and every one of us has something to contribute. Your contribution may be something has to do with your knowledge or expertise, or money or time. And inshallah, we will also be doing school in the next semester, in the next cycle. Not the cycle, since we're already halfway through. So, masjid is you. The masjid is about you and for you. You are the masjid. Bricks and mortars don't make masjid. Bricks and mortars are just housing. Bricks. The companions of the Prophet ﷺ, they would aggregate around him, and they would learn from him, and they would spend time in the masjid, and they would do i'tikaf in the masjid, and they would learn in the masjid, and they would pray in the masjid, and they would conduct a lot of their affairs in the masjid. And the Prophet ﷺ, when he was talking to them, he would stand up and talk to the first, in front of the first line. But then with time, as he would get tired, they created a minbar for him of 2 steps and a chair. And that's how the concept of minbar came by. So somebody contributed. It was a carpenter that contributed to this. So everybody has something to contribute to this. The masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, at one time they had to expand it, and they bought the land close to it during the lifetime of the Prophet, and they rearranged the whole thing. But they used to put lights. They burned dried leaves of palm to make light, but they had to put it on the stone part, or the brick part, so it doesn't burn, because the sticks were made of wood, and the ceiling was made also of plants, so they could combust. So one person, Tamim al-Dari, came up with this idea, and he would tie a rope between two sticks that are lifting the masjid, and he would put candles from oil, so it doesn't get close to the and burn everything. So what I'm trying to say is, everybody has something to contribute, and from that time, it was the masjid was he brought light to the masjid, and everybody was happy, and now they can conduct their affairs in a more brightful manner. So everyone has something to contribute. Please do not be passive. Please contribute. جزاكم الله خير والحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم اغفر لنا من خشيتك ما تحول بيننا وبين معاصيك، ومن طاعتك ما تبلغنا به جنتك، ومن اليقين ما تهون به علينا مصائب الدنيا، ومتعنا اللهم بأسماعنا وأبصارنا وقوتنا ما أحييتنا، واجعله الوارث منا، واجعل ثأرنا على من ظلمنا، وانصرنا على من عادانا، ولا تجعل مصيبتنا في ديننا، ولا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت، وعافنا فيمن عافيت، وتولنا فيمن توليت، وبارك لنا اللهم فيما أعطيت، وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت، فإنك تقضي بالحق ولا يقضى عليك، وأنه لا يذل من وليت ولا يعز من عاديت. تباركت ربنا وتعاليت، فلك الحمد على ما قضيت. نستغفرك اللهم ونتوب إليك ونؤمن بك ونتوكل عليك وأقم الصلاة. Brother Altaf, can you please lead the prayer?